Okay, scholars, let me have your attention, please. I just want to take the time out to welcome Ms. Vivian again. Thank you so much for being here. Students, you are in for a real treat. How often is it that we get to speak to someone with the wisdom and the years that she has? So thank you for being here, Ms. Vivian. Ms. Fletcher, thank you so much for helping to coordinate and organize this. Thank you and your husband for bringing Ms. Vivian today. Ms. Kitayama, thank you. Brianna and the scholars who I know helped organize everything. Thank you guys as well. So Mr. Blomberg as well. Thank you. Okay, so I'm not going to take up a lot of time because I can't wait to hear from Ms. Vivian. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, can I say thank you for inviting me? I'm happy to be here. All right. Could you all hear her? Yeah. Okay.
Vivian, I also have a microphone if you need one. You want to talk to him a minute?
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. I am puzzled why you want to meet me, but I've been enjoying being here with you, and thank you.
Okay, thank you for being a good audience. What I've done is I've made a PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be sort of a fast way of looking at the last 100 years. Are you everybody ready to get in that time capsule? Yeah. Hey, back to the future, right? All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Ready? All right. The story starts with Vivian's grandparents in the rural Ozark Mountains. And there's pictures of what the Ozark Mountain area looks like. Dr. A.G. Stevenson and his wife Rosella moved the family to Okemah, Oklahoma. Now, that middle picture I thought was really interesting. I don't know if you can see it. It's a hanging. You see two bodies hung off the bridge. Don't mess around back in the old days. Okay, next. This is the doctor in the city. You've already read the story, I think, about when the doctor rode on his horse to get to his call. Later he moved to the city. We've got the main street of Okemah. In the middle is a sketch of the house that the doctor moved his family to. And that good-looking dude over in the corner, that's Dr. Stevenson. Next. Now, Dr. A.J. moves from horseback to automobiles. Remember the story about his horse, Traveler? That's a picture of Traveler, and holding on him there, that's Vivian's mother. Is it pronounced Ira? Vivian, I'm sorry. What's your mother's first name? How's it pronounced?
Ira.
Yeah, that's Ira Stevenson, and she's holding Traveler, her father's horse. Now, you know what kind of car that is next to him? That's an old Model T. You see that lady in the front? That's how you get them started. You had to crank them up. Remember the story about how her mom learned to drive? She had to crank up the car. Next. Now, Ira Stevenson married Cecil Bradstone, and he was the son of a local farmer. What you see there are old pictures of the oil wells in the Oklahoma and Texas area. And that was the life of her mother growing up, and of her growing up, and her children growing up. So, Miss Vivian Bradstone, oldest child of Ira and Cecil, was born in Okemah, Oklahoma, December 28, 1917, in the home of her grandfather, Dr. A.J. Stevenson. 2 years later, her sister Helen is born. They moved frequently because, as I said, they lived in the oil fields. That's where her dad worked. So, in 1917, she was born. She turned 100 years old on December the 28th of 2017. So today, she's 100 years and 2 months old. Yay! All right, so over here, I'm going to tell you about history. World War I was going on. It started in 1914. It ended in November of 1918. Here we have some of the World War I soldiers. At the time, Woodrow Wilson was our president. Let's talk about what's going on. See the steamship? In those days, it took 7 to 10 days to cross the Atlantic to get from London to New York City. If you were in a sailing ship, the time tripled. The hamburger bun was invented at, very important, July 1st, 1916. Coca-Cola, yes, Coca-Cola was invented. Only 8% of homes had a landline telephone. In town, her father, he had a phone, because he was the doctor. Next. Ooh, look at that movie, yeah. Tarzan of the Apes was introduced. That was the first of the Tarzan movies. And then we see some happy World War I soldiers because the war finally ended. The grocery bag with handles was invented. That was, wasn't patented until 29, but it was invented. Next. Okay, so we're going to talk about the early 1920s. Now we have Warren Harding as president, but he was in office and he died of a heart attack. So his vice president, Calvin Coolidge, became the next president. Those are those two presidents. Next. Let's talk about her oil field childhood homes. The owner of the oil field would build housing for the workers. So the workers, if you had a job with this company, you'd move into that house. You'd work there for a few months, maybe even a few years, and then you'd move on to the next place and the next place. Some of the houses were better than others. They were all pretty primitive. I've given you a couple examples of some of the houses. And see those two kids in a wash tub? That's called a bath. Does that sound like fun? I don't think so. Next. Anybody have to go to the bathroom? You like the outhouse? Think it had toilet paper? Sears catalog. That's what you wipe your butt with. Page out of the Sears catalog. Didn't even have running water in all the homes. See the pump? Sometimes you had to go out to the pump to get your water. Bathtub, good for bathing the baby in the wash tub or doing your laundry. That's an example of a gas-powered stove. Okay, so in most homes at this point in history, it was not wood-burning stone. Most places could get gas. That thing over in the far left-hand corner is an early type of a refrigerator. It's called an ice box. You would put a block of ice in it, and then you put what you wanted to keep refrigerated in there, and it would last for a little bit. So you can see at the bottom there, we have a factory that makes the block of ice. To do your laundry, you would wash it by hand. There's where you could wring it out. You hung it out on the line, and that's what the old kind of clothespins used to look like. You know. What? You don't know. Okay. All right, I wanted to talk about some of the toys. You're going to learn that her favorite thing to play with was paper dolls. You guys know what paper dolls are? Okay. Now, you could buy them, but Miss Vivian's family, remember, they lived out in the oil fields, so they didn't buy their paper dolls. Miss Vivian is an artist. She would draw the paper dolls, and then her little sister would draw the clothes for the paper dolls. Kids had little wagons to play with, so there's a catalog showing some of the toys. Look, we can get 3 bird whistles for 19 cents. That sounds like fun. Go ahead. All right, now we're talking about the schools. The schools were either a 1-room or a 2-room school. All grades would be taught in these rooms. I have a picture of a 1-room schoolhouse at the top, a 2-room schoolhouse at the bottom. Shows you some of the desks. Oh, that teacher. She looks like those kids are behaving so well, just like you guys. Yeah. Okay, next. Vivian loves school. She was really good at reading and writing. Those were her favorite subjects. I'm going to pause now And Miss Vivian, we're gonna let the kids ask you some questions. You ready? Vivian, you ready for them to ask you questions? So right now, if you have a blue card, please stand and line up over here. Quickly. Get the single file line over there. What I'm going to ask you to do is please tell Miss Vivian your first name, read the question, and then let her answer, and then you can sit down.
My name is Roxana, and I just wanted to ask you, what is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
What is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? I don't think they need me.
A newborn baby.
My name is Aileen Moore, and I wanted to ask you, who is someone you always admire in your lifetime?
Who is someone that you always admired during your lifetime?
Well, my grandfather, I think.
The doctor? Very good, thank you.
Hi, my name is Katya, and I wanted to ask you, what was the biggest change in your life that you had to adapt to?
What was the very biggest change in your life that you had to adapt to?
I had to think about that for a minute.
We'll let you.
I really don't have a good answer for that. There's been so many changes in my life.
I think you probably just went with the flow, did what you had to do, right?
There's something I really appreciate as I got older, like the new washing machines and dryers and things like that.
I think that's a good answer.
Like magic.
Yeah, it was like magic. Thank you.
I'm Raymond, and I would like to ask you if you were ever interested in learning how to play a musical instrument or have played a musical instrument.
Have you ever wanted to learn to play a musical instrument, or did you ever play one?
My father's people were very musical. They could all, his mother could sing very good and play the organ, and his father played the violin and sang. And my father was a caller at spur dances when they would go to spur dances. But I didn't inherit any of that musical ability, I don't think. I love to hear it, but I never learned to play an instrument.
Good answer, thank you.
Jargon, I wanted to ask, what things from your childhood do you miss the most?
What things from your childhood do you miss the most?
What?
In your childhood, what thing from your childhood do you miss the most? What do you think about really miss from those childhood days?
Well, the companionship of playing with and meeting new children, and I had to meet new ones very often because we moved very often.
So she missed meeting new children. I think today she could meet about, what do you think, about 120 new children? Bring back the old days, right?
I'm Leah, and I'd like to ask, what advice would you give to a younger self so your life would have been easier?
So if you could give some advice to your younger self to make your life easier, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I've only learned this after many years, but the best thing all of us can do is learn to love one another. And
That sounds good to me, thank you.
My name's Ryan, and I want to ask you, did you have any pets when you were growing up?
Did you have any pets when you were growing up?
did I have a
Pet? Animals?
yes, very often we did. We had one that when we were traveling around, my dad traded a gun for a little fox terrier that was been from very young until he died at, I think, when I was in high school.
Do you remember his
name?
name?
Trixie.
Okay, sounds like Trixie was a nice dog.
Hi, my name is John Arsaya, and what did you do for entertainment while growing up?
So what did you used to do for entertainment in those years when you were growing up?
Well, Oh, that's a little hard to answer. We didn't have a radio or TV like they have now, but people visited more, I think, and I can't quite come up with a very good answer.
So most people like to get together and do they play cards or games?
Oh yes, we did play cards. I forgot about that.
Good, okay.
My name is Perla, and what was your favorite food when you were growing up?
My kind of subject. What was your favorite food when you were growing up?
Chocolate pie.
Yes, yes, I knew she was a brilliant woman. Okay.
My name's Stephanie, and have you ever met someone famous?
Have you ever met someone famous?
I don't believe so.
I have to interrupt here, boys and girls.
Britney Spears.
We secretly know she knows someone famous, right? She knows Britney Spears, but it's our secret, remember? Shh, okay.
Hi, my name's Christy May, and if you could describe your life in one word, what would it be?
If you could describe your whole life with just one word, what would it be?
Lucky.
Ah, lucky. I like that.
My name is Diana, and what things that we kids do nowadays are different from the things kids used to do when you were a kid?
So, what things did you do when you were a child that was different than what these kids do today?
Oh, for goodness sake. I don't think that we did anything so terribly different.
Okay. Just like to get together and play?
Yeah, played hopscotch.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and what did you like to do in your free time?
What did you like to do in your free time when you weren't doing chores?
You'll have to repeat that, please.
When you were a little girl, what did you like to do in your free time when you weren't helping out doing chores?
Well, I already said I like to draw and I like to read and things like that.
Very good, thank you.
Hi, my name is Evelyn, and what is your funniest memory from your life?
What is your funniest memory from your life? What was something really funny that you could think of?
Money?
Yeah.
The funniest thing is right now, being here with all of you, I never expected this.
Okay, that counts.
Thing that ever happened.
Thank you. I told her she's a rock star. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Berenice, and were you able to accomplish all of your goals in life?
Were you able to accomplish all of the goals that you had for your life?
Well, the only goal I had was to be happy and meet someone to love, have a family, and so I guess I did accomplish my goal.
All right, good. All right, let's continue with our slideshow. Now, Vivian's family, you know she was from Oklahoma and Texas in the oil field. They first came to California when she was about 6 years old. So that would be Vivian's mom and her dad and herself and her little sister Helen. And there's that little Model T. Doesn't that look like a comfortable drive? And they came to sunny California. That's because her father's family had moved to California. So they came and they even considered staying in California, but then they changed their mind and went back to the oil fields. But she said they were out here for several months, but the thing that really impressed her about California, next slide please, the Pacific Ocean. That's a picture of Santa Monica Beach in the 1920s. Now then, she was telling me that when she saw the Pacific Ocean for the first time, she really wanted to go out on a boat. And there was a man that had a boat that was offering to take people on rides on the Pacific Ocean, and little 6-year-old Vivian really wanted to do it, but her mama said no, too dangerous to go on an ocean. Now, these are some pictures when Miss Vivian was growing up. In 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed, so now women had the right to vote. Let's hear it, ladies. Yeah, okay. Also, believe it or not, they had the first liquid fuel for rockets. Now that picture right there, the man that's sitting on the lawn, that's the doctor, that's her grandpa. And standing up next to him, see that darling little girl? That's Miss Vivian. And the little girl with the dark hair sitting next to Grandpa, that's Sister Helen. And there's a little baby girl on his lap, and that's her little cousin, Mary Jane. And the picture over there, all dressed up in their best clothes, that's Miss Vivian and her sister Helen. Good looking kids, right? Yes. The world was changing. Americans love to go to comedies. Have you heard of Charlie Chaplin before? Okay. You've heard of Charles Lindbergh? In 1927, he was the first man to fly in an airplane across the Atlantic. Mickey Mouse. Where is she? There too. That was just for you. Mickey Mouse was born. All right. And Steamboat Willie was the name of the first cartoon, and that was in 1928. And the lady over there with the big smile on her face, that is Amelia Earhart, the first woman to cross the Atlantic. Yes. Now, this poster is from a movie, and I asked Miss Vivian who her favorite movie star growing up was, and she said when she went to the movie and she heard the voice of a lady named Jeanette MacDonald, she just thought that was so great. She loved it. She said that the song was Sweet Mystery of Life. So that was her favorite movie star. And the dance that everybody was doing in the 1920s was called the Charleston. And Miss Vivian said she was really good at it. I can imagine, I bet she was, yeah. Now, most American families listen to the news or stories on the radio. But remember, I told you Miss Vivian grew up on the oil fields? They didn't have a radio. All right? And the new president down there, that's Herbert Hoover. And he was the next president, and then a bad time in America's history, the Great Depression started. I don't want to depress you, but it was depressing. The stock market crashed, nobody had money, it was hard to find jobs, hard to find enough to eat. I had asked Miss Vivian to talk to me about the Great Depression. She didn't really see it as anything different from her everyday life. She didn't live in the city, remember? They're out in the oil fields. They didn't have fancy stuff anyway. But that's what was going on in America back in the 1920s. Yes. Now, we're going to go into the 1930s, okay? In the 1930s, a new planet was discovered called Pluto. Unfortunately, Pluto hasn't been doing well lately. They haven't decided if he's really a planet. They don't think so, all right? Then we got a new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he created something called the New Deal, trying to give everybody jobs to get back to work. And he was our president from 1933 until when he died in 1945. How do you like those modern inventions there? First, we've got an old cabinet. That's what used to be in the kitchen, then a sink. Finally, in the 1930s, instead of an icebox, there's a refrigerator, even an oven. Wow, times are changing. And there's the progress of the automobile. Getting pretty modern, don't you think? Bet you don't have to crank it up anymore. Next. Okay. Now she's becoming a teenager. She's going to high school. Now, this is what I thought was really interesting. I knew that she liked to write stories. I knew that she liked to read. And I asked her, when you were going to school, what did you want to be when you grow up? She thought about it. She said, oh, I wanted to be a teacher, until she got to high school. And that's when she found out. In those days, teachers couldn't be married. She liked the boys. So she decided not to become a teacher because she'd rather have a boyfriend. All right? Oh well, Miss Vivian, you were a swinger. So that kind of pen is called a fountain pen. You have to fill it up with ink. You'll notice over there that toaster, we're finally getting an electric toaster. It doesn't pop up automatically, but at least it toasts your bread. You see that we have some movies. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers made a bunch of musicals, and everybody liked watching them dancing. Vivian's family got their first radio when Vivian was in high school. Now, her first 3 years of high school, she lived in Texas. And while she was in Texas, she attended a 2-story brick building high school in Arp, Texas. Yeah, in Arp, Texas. And then for her last year, they left Texas and they moved back to Okima, Oklahoma, where Grandpa, the doctor, lived. And she finished her last year of high school there. Girls, it's lucky she moved. Guess who she met? Her future husband. Yeah. Next. So, look at that lovely girl. Look at her. Doesn't she look like a movie star? That's glamorous Vivian over there in the corner. Because Vivian Branscombe married Leon Bullock. Now, they met when she was a senior in high school, Okima High School in Oklahoma. There's the happy couple there in the middle. And they ended up having 3 children. Jerry was their first son. Then they had a little girl daughter named Sue. And then the baby boy was named Cody. Next. Let's talk about Leon's family. You already know a little bit about Miss Vivian's family. Now, Leon's family was also from Oklahoma. His dad was a farmer. How would you like to have to farm with those old mules? So that's a picture of Leon's father, Sam Bullock, with some of his younger children. And he had lots of children. Now, his oldest son, Leon, wanted to go on to college and get a nice education. He's the oldest son. In those days, you can't do that. Dad wants you to stay home, help run the farm. That's not what he did. Instead, he married the lovely Miss Vivian. And he also got a job out in the oil fields. See that oil field over there? And so he worked in the oil fields for the first years of their marriage. Later, he became a plumber. And his hobby, he liked to raise hunting dogs. Do you guys remember the book where the red fern grows?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I talked to Miss Vivian about Leon and his hunting dogs, it made me remember that book, that kind of a thing. Next. Now, she was a busy homemaker, but the world was going on. World War I was ending, and it was supposed to be the war that ended all wars. Was it? No. All right. Hollywood made some really great movies. How many of you have seen Gone with the Wind? Yeah, okay. And that's Shirley Temple, almost as cute as Miss Vivian was. Shirley Temple were the movies everybody wanted to see. But over in Europe, there was this guy named Hitler that had some crazy ideas about conquering the world. And he started trouble in Europe. And in America, we sent some of our soldiers to Europe to help fight the war, to help stop Hitler, okay? So we weren't fighting on our home ground. We hadn't officially declared war. However, we were helping our allies in Europe. Yes. So, she held the family together as America went to war in World War II. Sunday morning, it's not the 6th, it's the 7th. It's supposed to be December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor was bombed, you all know that. Most of the men in America went out and joined up to go fight. All of the jobs that men used to do, who's gonna do them now? The women. So for the first time, women left the house and they went in to do the jobs the men used to do. Do you guys know who Rosie the Riveter is? That lady going like this in the corner. She was sort of the symbol for women being strong. Now I have to tell you something. There was something going on in the United States called rationing. That meant because we were at war, it took a lot of money and a lot of supplies to send to our boys who were at war, right? Back home, that meant we had to limit. So you were given a coupon book, and you couldn't just go to the grocery store and buy whatever you wanted. You could go to the grocery store and you got 1 pound of butter a week. Over there, that picture in the front corner, that's what a family of 2 adults and 2 children would get for the week. The thing that's going to surprise you the most, they ration gasoline. Think about how often your parents go get gas. You were allowed 2 gallons of gas a week. You guys would be doing a lot of walking, wouldn't you? Next slide. Okay, so she saw the end of World War II, but then a new age of destruction had opened up because we developed the atomic bomb. We bombed Hiroshima in Japan, and the war ended. So we invented the A-bomb. FDR was elected for his 4th term, but then he had a stroke and he died. So the Vice President, Harry Truman, was now our new president, and World War II ended September 2nd, 1945. So at this time, we're going to do our next round of questions. If you have an orange card, please line up. Okay, I want to remind you, you give your name and then you ask the question. How you doing, Vivian? You okay?
I'm fine.
You ready? Here they come.
My name is Marcia, and I wanted to ask, what is your favorite memory of your school days?
What was your favorite memory during your school days?
Well, I enjoyed school pretty much. I can't think of them, especially favorite memory.
Did you ever get any awards in school?
Oh, when, you're talking about when I was just a young kid?
When you were in school, yeah.
When I was in grade school, there was 2 little boys that I liked. I couldn't decide which one I liked the better.
I think a lot of girls, you have that same problem, don't you? I'm curious, did they have spelling bee when you were in school?
No, that I was not allowed to call.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Levi Earl, and I would like to ask, did you ever have a job outside of your home? If so, what was it?
Did you ever have a job away from your home?
Did I ever have a job at all?
No, yeah, did you ever go to work someplace?
I worked briefly advertising trips after I was very old.
Okay.
Just a short while.
I think that would be a fun job, advertising trips. Thank you.
My name is Jose, and I wanted to ask, did you go to dances? Did you go to dances or to the movies when you were a teenager?
So back when you were a teenager, did you go to dances? Did you go to the movies?
Oh, both.
What?
Yeah, we went to, when I was young, we went to dances and movies were very popular.
What kind of movie? Do you remember what movies you might see or who you liked?
Well, I think you've already told them about.
Jeanette MacDonald?
Yeah, I like the musicals.
Ah, did you like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers?
Oh yeah, comedy was always good.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
My name is Jessica, and my question is, who is your favorite singer and what kind of music did you like?
So, did you have a favorite singer, and what type of music did you like to listen to?
Well, Frank Sinatra was very good, and I've already told you, Jeanette McDonald was a favorite of mine.
Very good. Do you guys know who Frank Sinatra is? Yeah. Do you know what his nickname is? Old Blue Eyes.
My name is Alejandra, and what kind of dancing was popular?
What kind of dancing was popular, Miss Vivian?
Oh, the two-step waltz and things like that.
Okay. She could have been with Dancing Under the Stars, right?
My name is Raquel, and my question is, who taught you how to drive a car? What kind of car was it, and how old were you?
So, when did you learn to drive a car? Who taught you to drive a car?
I was very slow about learning to drive a car. I didn't start driving a car till I was pretty old.
What's pretty old? Were you already a teenager?
Yeah, my husband taught me.
So after you, he's the one that taught
I
you?
didn't drive when I was a teenager.
So your husband taught you.
Hi, my name is Brianna, and I wanted to ask you, well, what are the most important lessons you have learned throughout your life?
Okay, in your lifetime, what is the most important lesson that you have learned in life?
The most important lesson,
Lesson.
I think that be careful not to hurt other people and be more conscious of others. And sometimes they're a little slow to learn that. We always think of ourselves first.
Wow, that's good advice. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adeline, and I just wanted to ask, if you could go back to change something in your life, what would it be?
So if there was one thing you wanted to go back and change from your life, what would you like to change?
Well, I would like to go back and not make so many mistakes. When I think about all the mistakes I made, I would like to relive my life and omit those mistakes.
Wouldn't we all?
My name is Ruby. I wanted to ask, what was one of your favorite books that you read in your childhood?
So in your childhood, you told us you liked to read. What was one of your favorite books you ever read?
Well, it wasn't anything that would attach your brain. I liked Gene Stratton Porter books when I was a girl. Things like that.
Can you tell us what kind of books Porter wrote? I don't think they know.
Just romances, I guess you'd call them.
Oh, Girls Used to Cry. She liked romance novels. Remember, this is the lady that decided not to be a teacher because she liked boys better than being a teacher.
My name's Anita. Of all the stories you've written, which one is your favorite?
Okay, they know about some of your stories, but you've written so many more. Of all the stories you've written, what story have you written that you like the best?
The stories that I have written,
Yes, ma'am.
I never thought about myself as writing stories. I just write little things about things that's happened to me. And I like to write about my grandfather because he had what I thought was a very helpful life, and unusual because he was crippled, but he still was able to do so many things. He had polio when he was young, but he still made a doctor even after he got married. My grandmother, though, doesn't get much credit. He couldn't have made a doctor if she hadn't been willing to stay home and take care of a couple of children that they had at the time. But so
I think that's an interesting point that we haven't thought about, because her grandfather didn't become a doctor till after he was married and had children. Then he had to go off to school, become a doctor. Who was left at home out there in the Ozark Mountains? The wife and the little kids, right? So you're right, she needed a lot of credit too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Karina, and I wanted to ask,
What major event in history during your lifetime stands out the most in your memory?
What major event in history of all the things that happened, what one thing really stands out in your mind?
You mean something good or something bad?
That's up to you. What do you remember? What thing is in your memory?
Well, I guess Lindbergh.
Lindbergh flight. That's true. Remember we showed the picture of when Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic? I bet that was a big deal. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Valeria, and I was just wondering what was one of your favorite things that you've done in your whole life?
Whoa, in your whole life, what was one of your very favorite things that you ever did?
One of the favorite things that I've ever done. I've never been very adventurous, so I don't. I really have had a hard time coming up with something like that because I don't. I can't. I learned. I like to when I was young. I like to learn to do things, like learn to do the Charleston and turn cartwheels and stuff like that. But
how many of you guys know how to turn a cartwheel? Yeah. My very first time to meet Miss Vivian, she was reading the story, talking about that when she was young, when she got excited, first thing she'd do, she'd go out and she'd start turning cartwheels. So I've had that memory stuck in my head of Vivian turning cartwheels.
Hello, my name is Ishmael, and I would like to ask that, how old were you when you first started writing, and are all your stories true, or do you also write fiction?
So when you first started writing stories, how old were you? And are all the stories that you write, are they all true memoirs, or do you also write fiction stories?
most of my stories are true about something that happened, but I have tried a little fiction. But I guess when my sister and I were making the paper dolls, I made the dolls and she made the clothes, but she wouldn't make them until I made a story about the doll that I had drawn. Because she says I can't dress the doll if I don't know what about it, something about it. So I had to make up a story.
So even as a little one, right? She was making up stories, inventing a whole life for a paper doll. Thank you. Let's go ahead and watch the rest of the slideshow. You guys ready? Okay, here we go. Now, America's going to move into the modern era. They invented the recliner, the Band-Aid. Electric shavers have pop-up toasters. Yay. All right. Now, most families have a phone in their home. Families were starting to get little cameras. That's called a Kodak Brownie, so they could take pictures more. Over here it shows you a 1950s fridge, a 50s washing machine, flooring, and some appliances. They call that retro nowadays. People were starting to get record players, and they were buying records to have in their home, and people were having gas stations to go get gas. Now, during this time in history, a guy named Chuck Yeager, he broke the sound barrier. That was in 1947. And then Harry Truman sent supplies and troops to South Korea in 1950s. They didn't call it a war, it was a conflict, they said. So already we're entering, only 5 years later, another war situation. So they're out there battling again in the 1950s. Next. Now, Vivian's husband moved the family from Oklahoma and Texas area to Illinois to be closer to his family who had gone to Illinois. And that first picture up there is Miss Vivian as a grown-up, and she's standing next to her sister Helen. And Helen and her two little boys, they came to visit Miss Vivian in Illinois. Then you see other pictures growing up of Miss Vivian's kids. You see pictures of Sue and Jerry and Cody and all of that. And we had a new president in 1953, Dwight D. Eisenhower. I can remember a campaign button that said, "I like Ike." I proudly wore it to elementary school. And we had the fighting in Korea finally ended 3 years later in 1953. Now, they left Illinois, they're on the move again, because her husband Leon's parents moved to sunny Southern California. They moved, you know where Redlands is, right, you guys? They bought a chicken ranch in Redlands, California, and Leon and Vivian and their 3 children packed up their car and they relocated in that Redlands area so they'd be close to his family. And by this point, her husband Leon was a plumber, he got a job there, and that's where they raised their family. Look at that mom with her son, look at that mom with those sexy legs. Miss Vivian, my goodness, you're gorgeous. So you can see Cody down there in his little toy car. Sue is sitting on the fence around the house. Okay, next.
May I tell? I think that this may be a little boring, but I'd like to tell you a story that I think might not be so boring.
Okay, here, take the mic.
During World War II, gas was rationed, and we had to move from our place in where we were living in Illinois. We had to go to East Texas, and so Leon's parents were living in
California,
Illinois at the time, and I said we were living in Illinois. We weren't living. I made a mistake there. We were living.
Oklahoma.
We were living in Tennessee, I think it was. But where we had to make this trip on ration gas, and so we took the shortcut we thought would bring us save a little gas. And we were traveling at night, and when we went into this shortcut, a car started following us and kept the light in my husband's mirror there so he could see. And so we just thought that was didn't think too much about it right at first, but he kept it up too long. So Leon let him pass, and then he turned the car crossways in front of us. And so that didn't stop Leon. There wasn't much room, but he went way around and got ahead of him until we got to the next village, which was several miles away. And when we got there, we were traveling at night, and when we got there and stopped at the all-night station, the man told us there'd been some robberies on that road before. And so we figured we had a real escape there because my husband was a very good driver.
Wow, can you imagine that late at night on a deserted road? Guy turned in front of him, tried to block him, probably was gonna rob him. All right, Leon, you saved the day. All right. Okay, now, they moved to Southern California, and now you're talking about modern times. America fell in love with the television. Look at that old-time TV. I can remember every one of those TV shows. How You Do was the popular show for kids. You guys all know I Love Lucy, right? You guys know what that last picture is? Not the Three Stooges, no, it's called The Honeymooners, starring Jackie Gleason. It was about 2 couples, yeah. Also, in the 1950s, the space race had begun. And in 1957, USSR launched Sputnik 1. And then they launched Sputnik 2 with a dog inside of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Fletcher can remember being about your age, laying in bed in 1957 with my radio on next to my bed. And the newscaster was talking about that the Russians had just launched a spaceship called Sputnik. And the newscaster was making it very, not like it was a good thing, it was frightening, because if the Russians got up first, they would be up there and they were going to bomb the United States. And I remember that night I couldn't go to sleep, even though I had to go to junior high school the next day. I was scared because Sputnik had been launched. Now, it was fun to be a kid in the 1950s and 1960s. First picture, the ice cream man, right? Good humor ice cream man. The next thing was a company called the Helms Bakery Man. He'd drive into your neighborhood, he'd blow a special whistle, he'd open up the back doors, and they sold bread and pies and glazed donuts or lemon meringue pie to die for. Okay. Also, you had your milk was delivered every day to your house in little glass bottles by a milkman. Now, that tiny picture next to the milkman, can anybody read the sign? Knox Berry Farm. That's the original Knox Berry Farm. Before they added restaurants and amusement park rides, they were just a stand where you bought berries and jams. That was Knox Berry Farm. And then, you know, the McDonald's started in California. How much, can you see how much it cost for a hamburger? 15 cents. I remember the billboard used to say you could get a hamburger, a french fries, and a small Coke for $1 and still get change back. Okay, down over here, roller coasters were the big craze. That roller coaster was in Long Beach at an amusement park called the Pipe. Hula hoops, we had hula hoop contests. Drive-in movies. Have any of you guys ever been to a drive-in movie? Yeah, there's still one over on Van Buren. Yeah? Drive-in movies, and where is she? There you are. Happiest place, Disneyland. And I think most of you know, I've already told this story. I was at Disneyland for the first time on the 4th day that it was open. And it was cool. Next slide. Now, America loved their superstars. John Wayne, howdy partner, king of the cowboys. 3D movies, and now the 3D movies are plastic. They used to be made of cardboard, and one lens was blue and one was red. And I don't know about anybody else, I put those things on, made me get motion sickness. I'm like, ooh, weird. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Elvis, king of rock and roll. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde bombshell. The Beatles, with their long hair. Oh, they'd never be a success. They'll probably just be a couple years, make a couple records, that's it. Beach Boys, California Sun, groovy, and then he's bad. Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Yes. Now, 1960s, a lot was going on. We talked about the space race. So, in 1959, we had Discover 1. It was a spy satellite for the U.S. John Kennedy was elected president. He only served for 2 years, and then, as you know, he was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. The Bay of Pigs was April of '61. That was an invasion in Cuba that failed. And then in April of '61, a guy named Yuri Gagarin became the first human to fly in space. He was from Russia. Then in '61 in May, the Mercury Freedom 7 launched a record, and Alan Shepard was the first American to go into space. And then we went before Congress, and President Kennedy said, I'm going to dedicate all of our efforts to the space race. The race is on. We're going to get to the moon first. And in February of 1962, John Glenn, he was an orbital flight, all right, going around Mercury 6, and then July of '62, We launched Telstar, which was our first satellite, okay? We had the Cuban Missile Crisis in October of '62, and then November of 1963, President Kennedy was in a motorcade in Dallas, Texas. He was shot and he was killed. I remember the day very well. I was in college when the announcement came over the PA system that our president had been shot and killed. Next. The swinging 60s. Lyndon Baines Johnson had been vice president when Kennedy was shot, and he is now our new president. He was on board Air Force One when he was sworn in. We had a female Russian in 1963, was the first woman to go into space. And from 1963 to 1975, the United States was involved in a war in Vietnam that was not popular. We had 58,220 United States military casualties during that war. So the hippies and the war protesters were out a lot. Next. Remember we had that push for the race to space. Richard Nixon became our president from 1969 to 74. July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. And then in 1970, Apollo 13. That was when you heard the phrase, Houston, we had a problem, where they had to try to get the vehicle back safely when everything was breaking. So a lot of stuff was, we got Armstrong walking on the moon. A lot of things was going on in the 1960s and 70s, okay? Washington, D.C. wasn't doing too well. There was something called the Watergate scandal, had to do with spying, and because of that, our president at the time, Richard Nixon, there was a threat he was going to be impeached. He didn't want to be impeached, so he resigned the presidency, and his vice president, Gerald Ford, became our next president. All right, let's see, we had our first joint effort with Russia in 1975 when the Soyuz and the Apollo linked up for the first time. And the Vietnam War ended in 1975, and there was a peanut farmer from Georgia named Jimmy Carter who became our next president in 1977 to 1981. Okay? America survives and moves on. We had Ronald Reagan. He was first an actor, then a union leader, then a governor of California, and finally he was our 49th president. Then in 1981, we had a liftoff for the first space mission for a new transportation system. In 1983, we had Sally Ride. She was aboard the Challenger, and she was the first American woman in space. We even wrote a song about it called Ride, Sally Ride. 1986, I was teaching school when this happened. The Challenger exploded right after launch, was only in the air for 73 minutes, and everybody on board was killed, including one of the school teachers on board, Krista McCullough. And for 2 years, the nation was so upset about what had happened with the Challenger, the whole space program came to a halt for 2 years. All right, now back here at home, we've got George H.W. Bush became president in 1989, and that was until 1993. And in 1990, we went to war again. This was the first Gulf War, and it lasted approximately 1 year. We have the space shuttle went up, the telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope went up in 90. Bill Clinton became our president in 93, and Miss Vivian and her husband Leon moved to Sun City, California. Next. Next. Oh, we get it? Okay. Well, it's another Bush. I get confused, right? I think, didn't I just say Bush? Here he is again. This time it's George W. Bush, the son of the other one. Okay? George W. was our president from '01 to '09, and then 9/11 happened in 2001, and we were attacked in New York City, and the second Gulf War started. The first one was 1 year, the second one lasted 8 years. So, let's look at some of the things that had gone on in 100 years. Look at the cars, look at the clothes, we got air conditioners, jukebox, the Lone Ranger rides again. Look at the progress of telephones, cell phones, toys. On that bottom row, 1, 2, 3, 4th picture over, Swanson invented the TV dinner. Mothers of America were thrilled. Okay? You guys like the look of that car? Isn't that cool? Transistor radios. You didn't have to have them plugged in. I remember a song called Transistor Sister. She had a radio on her ear. Reminds me of you guys with your earphones on. We're trying to teach school. Okay, next picture. Now, she's seen so much back in the early primitive days, the old switchboard operators, the little biplanes, the old radios, the first passengers. Look at all of these pictures. I don't know what happened, Mark, with that last slide. Oh, well, sorry, guys. That was a picture of Vivian and her husband. I don't know what happened to it. You got your first computer down here. You got rocket ships. So much went on. Next. And the years go by. We have our first black president in 2009 to 17 was Barack Obama. Osama bin Laden was finally captured, the man responsible for 9/11. He was captured and killed in 2011. And then the new president is Donald Trump. And Vivian Bullock of Sun City, California, celebrates her 100th birthday on December 28th, 2017. And there she is at her birthday party. Vivian Bradston Bullock. This is your life. There she is celebrating. All right, so if you have the last group of cards, if you have the green card, please come line up.
Hold on, green bird.
Got your green card. We're almost finished. This is the last group of questions. You guys are doing awesome because when this is over, we're going to have a birthday party. Sound like a good idea? Yeah. All right, here we go. Let's all be quiet. All wait. Thank you. Here we go.
My name is Angelique, and I wanted to ask how hard was it for you to adapt to modern technology?
She wants to know how hard was it for you to adapt to all the modern technology?
Very, very hard. I still don't use a lot of the new things.
Like what? What don't you use? Do you have a computer?
I still have an old phone. I don't have a new phone. I haven't felt like I need to learn to use a computer, which I think is just laziness on my part.
I want to tell you guys, when she writes her stories, she doesn't do it in words. She does it in longhand. She writes it out, and then she just Xeroxes it off the pages. It's really cute. Thank you.
My name is Daniela, and I would like to ask what foods do you eat on a typical day?
Say it again.
What foods do you eat on a typical day?
You're so healthy. What foods do you eat now on a typical day?
Would you repeat that?
You're so healthy and strong.
Oh, healthy.
Yeah, so on a typical day, what food do you eat?
I think part of it is luck, I guess, but I have always exercised a lot. I don't like meat much, and
Do you eat fast food?
not too much.
Do you
Fast food, oh yeah, I take advantage of fast food.
Okay. Do you eat a lot of vegetables?
Not too many.
Okay. What's your favorite food to eat?
Well, I'll tell you, when we were moving around and I was a child, I was very picky because we had stopped at a restaurant where they had foreign food of some kind, and I wasn't accustomed to it that was spicy, and I became very ill. And so from that time on, while we were traveling, I would only eat milk and crackers. That's all I would eat.
Can you imagine you don't want to eat anything spicy, you're afraid of it, so you just eat milk and crackers?
And I still like milk and crackers.
Still like milk and crackers.
My name is Anthony, and I want to know if you could go back in time to 100 years ago, what advice would you give yourself?
If you were to go back in time 100 years ago, what advice would you give to yourself? Class, stop talking.
I would give what advice would I give to myself? To be more aware of other people and their needs and not be too selfish and self-centered.
Very good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel, and I would like to ask you, what is your favorite hobby?
What is your favorite hobby? What do you like to do?
Read.
Yeah. Okay.
My name is Benjamin, and what did you think when you saw the moon landing on TV?
What did you think when you first saw that moon landing on TV in 1969?
When I first saw a movie.
The moon landing in
Oh, the moon landing.
Walking on the moon.
Oh, well, I was amazed like everyone else, you know.
I bet you never thought you'd see that in your lifetime, did you?
Hi, I'm Sitlali Sandoval, and my question is there any adventure/event that you wanted to do in your lifetime but never got the chance to?
Did you ever have an adventure or something you wanted to do in your lifetime but you never had a chance to do it?
You'll have to repeat that.
Okay. Is there anything in your lifetime that you wanted to do, some adventure you wanted to go on that you never had a chance to do? Was there any place you wanted to go you never got to go to?
Well, you would think they would be so great, but I guess I've had a pretty satisfying life most of the time.
Use the microphone. Use the microphone.
Oh. You see, I don't even have to use the microphone. My life has been pretty happy, and I don't remember or recall having any special wish was fulfilled.
Very good. Thank you.
My name is Monique, and I want to know, what are your feelings about all the things you have accomplished in your life?
What are your feelings about all of the things that you have accomplished during your lifetime?
Now that's a hard question to answer. I don't think of anything special that I have accomplished.
I think
I've tended to my own business and not bothered other people.
Well, I guess she told us, tend to your own business, don't bother other people.
Hello, my name is Eva Mercado, and I was wondering what invention made the biggest impact on your life?
Of all of the inventions in your lifetime, what one invention made the biggest impact on your life?
My life hasn't been full of adventures, I would say.
What invention? Something that was invented.
Oh my goodness. There's been so many, but I was delighted to get my first washing machine and dryer. That was just absolutely like magic.
Yeah, I think so too.
My name is Brianna, and I wanted to ask, what advice do you have for people our age?
This is an important one, Vivian. What advice do you have for people their age? What advice do you have for them?
Well, I don't much believe in giving advice, but I think we each have to learn things mostly through experience. And but when we were young, we probably nearly always have someone that we admire, and we can learn from the people that are closest to us that we think have had a good life. But stay out of trouble.
Okay, I like that. Right. And be nice to substitute teachers. Stay out of trouble, be nice to substitute teachers. Got it? Okay, check. Okay.
My name is Tucker Earl, and I wanted to ask, is there anything that you still wish to do?
Is there anything that you still wish to do? Probably get off the stage.
Well, right now, I wish I was very good at telling stories.
Excuse me, Miss Vivian, I think you are pretty good at telling stories.
My name is Edward, and what event changed most of your life?
What event changed the most, changed your life the most? What singular event in life?
Well, I don't know whether you call it an event or not, but when modern plumbing got to be more common, that was pretty good. Because I had lived in houses that didn't have modern plumbing.
Do you guys agree that it's pretty good that we have flush toilets in the house instead of that? Yeah. Thank you, I agree with that too.
My name is Nandra, and I want to ask you, what do you think are the best inventions that we created to help a homemaker?
Okay, her question is, as a homemaker, a lady in the house, what are the best inventions that were created to help the homemaker? You already told us about the washing machine, what else?
Well, I'll tell you one that I haven't adopted. I never have got used to, or haven't ever wanted a dishwasher. The few times I've used them, it seems to be like you wash the dishes and then you put them in the dishwasher. And by that time, you can always get them washed. But that's just my opinion. But I already told you about the washing machine. I really like the washing machine. And I guess this is a modern, I like refrigerator.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Nearly everything they have now is pretty nice.
Yeah, she said nearly everything they have now is pretty nice. I agree.
Hi, my name is Gabriela, and I would like to ask, how special is it for you to be here at Tomas Rivera Middle School today with us?
She said she wants to know, how special is it for you to be here at Tomas Rivera Middle School with all of them?
Oh, I am extremely puzzled. Because why would anyone want to meet this old lady? I am a little flattered. I'm a little pleased that you like my stories, some of you. And I'm happy to be here. But I don't know why I'm here today.
Thank you.
I'm Arturo Garcia, and I wanted to ask, were you a good cook, or what was your specialty?
Were you a good cook, and what was your special thing that you liked to cook?
At one time, I was a fair cook, but I wouldn't say I was especially a good cook any time. And now that I'm very old and I'm living alone, I don't cook very much at all anymore. But when I did cook, I like to make cornbread and soup and simple things. I never considered myself a very special cook. My mother was. And I should have learned from her.
What is something that your mother made that was
chocolate pie?
Okay. She didn't have to think of that very long, did she? Chocolate pie.
My name's Alexa, and I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite thing you did while you celebrated your birthday?
Okay, on your 100th birthday, how did you celebrate? What did you do for your 100th birthday?
Well, I had the food. And I didn't expect any company, but people came. Friends of mine that had known me. First thing you know, I hope they didn't go home with the flu but they brought flowers and they helped me celebrate. And we got through the time pretty well. I don't know how many of them went home with the flu germ.
I guess they brought gifts to her and she gave them the flu. Yeah. Well, you know, we finished the slideshow, we finished the questions, so I think it's time that we celebrate 100 years of a birthday. All right, are you guys ready to sing?
Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Happy birthday, dear Vivian. Happy birthday to you.
Miss Vivian,
I feel like I'm somebody.
You are somebody, so thank you so much for coming to be with us.
on behalf of Tomas Rivera Middle School, we wish you a happy birthday on your first 100 years. We look forward to seeing what's coming next. And I have a feeling these teenagers would like some cake. Shall we split this up with all of them? Or cupcakes?
We're gonna